Alright, hello. I don't even give a fuck. I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. I don't care. I know it's retarded. I know you're gonna think it's a conspiratard thing. But I'm unironically wearing it because I just fucking found out about EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, and that they are actually damaging people. And if you don't believe me, just let me show you the proof. So first things first, I was on X. I was just looking through, and it was saying that Bluetooth headphones might cause serious damage, new research has shown. A lot of this shit is alarmist, can be alarmist. That's why you have to look into it, and you have to actually have to know something at least a little bit, because a lot of people, it's just like gobbledygook, and especially in the age of AI, people are really skeptical. Maybe for good reason, but let's take a look. So it's showing that basically a quick summary is that it's showing that just wearing Bluetooth headphones like I have here, like my Sony WF MX 4000 or something, these things can actually cause you to have thyroid damage where your thyroid will create a nodule. It's not always cancerous, sometimes it seems to be benign, but they did run a study where they found that the reason why people were getting these thyroid nodules were because of the Bluetooth usage. And it was just Bluetooth usage. Aside from age, all of the biggest factors were related to Bluetooth headphone usage. Usage time, wearing it in ears, using at work, etc. The rest of the variables, education, income, smoking, etc., had much smaller or negligible effects. So it was just Bluetooth. And yeah, it says that we have reason to be skeptical about them. And it's this study which they've cited. And so then I started going down more of the, you could call it a rabbit hole, I don't care, the rabbit hole of EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, because Bluetooth is just one, and I'm learning more now about frequencies, hertz, what these things mean, but now I understand that they're actually important. They actually do have an effect on people, and I'll show you how. So that's the post. The study is this one: epidemiological exploration of the impact of Bluetooth headset usage on thyroid nodules using Shapley additive explanations method. And so I went a little bit further, and I found this study actually. And this one really, I don't like to be alarmist, but it kind of blew me away, and I just feel like it's really important. So this one, I was looking up EMF, and I found this study from 2024. It's actually a review. So a review is when they put a bunch of different studies together, and it's from the Brain Research Bulletin, and it says a review on the consequences of molecular and genomic alterations following exposure to electromagnetic fields, remodeling of neuronal network, and cognitive changes. The highlights: electromagnetic field EMF exposure alters neurogenesis and apoptosis. I believe neurogenesis, that's when your brain makes new neurons. You know, your brain's made up of neurons. It actually makes new ones. EMF can alter that. Apoptosis, I believe that's cell death. So it's altered as well. Whether to be dying more or less, I'm not sure. I'd have to read the full study and dig more into it, but I have looked at parts of this study already. EMF exposure affects epigenetic and non-epigenetic regulation of gene expression. Exposure to EMF modifies the expression, function, and structure of ion channels. EMF exposure changes synaptic transmission and glial function. EMF exposure causes the neuronal network remodeling and behavioral consequences. Okay, so I'll read the abstract here. The use of electromagnetic fields, EMFs, is essential in daily life. Since 1970, concerns have grown about potential health hazards from EMF. Exposure to EMF can stimulate nerves and affect the central nervous system, leading to neurological and cognitive changes. However, current research results are often vague and contradictory. These effects include changes in memory and learning through changes in neuronal plasticity in the hippocampus, synapses, and hippocampal neuritis, and changes in metabolism and neurotransmitter levels. Prenatal exposure to EMFs has negative effects on memory and learning, as well as changes in hippocampal neuron density and histomorphology of hippocampus. EMF exposure also affects the structure and function of glial cells, affecting gate dynamics, ion conduction, membrane concentration, and protein expression. EMF exposure affects gene expression and may change epigenetic regulation through effects on DNA methylation, histone modification, and microRNA biogenesis, and potentially leading to biological changes. Therefore, exposure to EMFs possibly leads to changes in cellular and molecular mechanisms in central nervous system and alter cognitive function. So, the main points, and I'm thankful for this study because they broke it down really well. So, all of these things that we're exposed to, and I'm still learning now. I'm more interested, and I really want to learn more because it's a very important topic. You know, Tesla said that if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, I think he said. And so these are their energy, their frequencies, their vibrations. They're in megahertz. This is how things broadcast to us. And I think a lot of people just don't understand anything about this, and it's like so far off. It's like a meme or something, like the tinfoil hat. I understand that's a meme, but I don't even care anymore because it's like if you're just gonna mock something and not understand it, you might be missing out on what it actually has to say. And this is what it has to say, and this is actually important. And I'll get to that more why. So we have all these different things that affect us. TV broadcasts from 54 to 700 megahertz. Cell phones 0.9 to 2.45 gigahertz. Radars 8 to 1900 megahertz. Microwaves 2.45 gigahertz. Bluetooth devices like my headphones 2.45 gigahertz. Wireless internet 2.45 gigahertz. Laptops 300 hertz to 10 megahertz. Cell phone towers 800 to 1900 megahertz. Leads to all these different things which were listed earlier, some of which alterations in apoptotic pathway, neurogenesis modification, and others, leads to remodeling of neuronal network, leads to behavioral consequences. This is a big point. This is like really important, and I don't want to sound like, you know, obviously it's related to schizo, like this is something like wearing a tinfoil hat. That's something that a schizophrenic person might do because of the waves and stuff attacking your brain and stuff like that. And honestly, I feel like it's throwing in the baby out with the bathwater to just mock all of that and put up like a demarcation to say that none of it has any merit. This is the merit right here. And I will show you. Okay, so EMF exposure. It's kind of small. Let's see if I can make it a little bigger. EMF exposure. Increased expression of pro-neuronal genes, histone, H3K9 acetylation, activation of acetyltransferase Ka2A, notch signaling pathway activation, leads to improving neurogenesis, progenitor cells, neurogenesis to mature neurons. So this is actually an interesting point. Not all EMF is bad. Okay, so I actually missed this when I was going through this earlier, but it said that some low frequency electromagnetic EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, the low frequency ones, um, are actually somewhat good. Here it says, isolating the neural stem cells of newborn mice exposed to a low-frequency EMF prenatally showed that exposure to this field during prenatal time causes epigenetic modulation in favor of increased expression of pro-neuronal genes, including a proliferative gene, hairy enhancer of split1, neuronal determination genes, neurod1, and neurogenin1. Okay. I'll get more to that later, and I'm not going to pretend like I understand every single term. Like I have a honors undergraduate in psychology, and I did take I took neuropsychology, the course, and so I had to learn some of this, but there is a ton if you're into neuroscience, and also biology. And I'm not saying I know everything. So, anyways, but I have enough understanding that I can identify the important parts. So here it's showing how EMF exposure leads to changes in apoptotic pathways. So it's basically just showing a dendrite here is being destroyed. Here it's showing how EMF leads to changes in gene expression. Here it's showing how EMF exposure leads to epigenetic changes in the DNA, how your DNA expresses through DNA methylation, histone modification, and expression of microRNAs. Alright, so showing that EMF exposure actually leads to changes. The fetal brain undergoes changes in both structure and function due to electromagnetic fields. That's really important for a pregnant family, pregnant mother. Okay, so here's the part that I was like, whoa, this is really important. Okay, the effect of EMF on neurotransmitters. So your neurotransmitters, those are like the chemical messengers in your brain. So some people may have heard of dopamine, norepinephrine, noradrenaline, serotonin, so forth. People generally think if you're low on serotonin, well, you're taking an SSRI, so selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. The doctors will kind of tell you that increases serotonin in your brain, helps you feel better. Serotonin is the happy drug, happy chemical. And that's about as far as people understand it. And honestly, doctors don't even really understand it. That's serious. Like, they actually don't understand the causal reason. They understand a correlation. So anyways, here it shows different studies in this table here. So here's a study from 2013 on adult rats under 1800 megahertz frequency for 1 hour. And they studied dopamine, and they found a dopamine increase in the hippocampus. And then in the next study, it shows on rats as well at 900 megahertz, 1 hour a day for 21 days, dopamine increase in the hippocampus. So what does that even mean? And I Googled it, and I just looked at AI. What does it say? Dopamine increase or decrease, sorry. What did I say? I think I might have mistakenly said increase. I meant decrease. So a dopamine decrease in the hippocampus is primarily linked to cognitive and memory deficits and is associated with conditions such as Parkinson's disease, depression, and age-related cognitive decline. So that's under 1 hour a day in these rats at a frequency of 1800 or 900 megahertz. Now, what did it say over here back at the start? That we are under, our laptops range from 300 megahertz to 10 megahertz. Our cell phones are 0.9 to 2.45 gigahertz. And then we have all these other things going on at all times. And it's like, these things are being broadcast through the air. That's how Wi-Fi works. When you have a strong Wi-Fi signal, you have a Wi-Fi router in your house. It emits a signal. It radiates a Wi-Fi signal. It's a radio frequency, I believe, or it's a frequency throughout the air, throughout everything. It goes through walls, it goes through other things, but it's blocked by certain things, certain metals and such. But your phone picks it up. Your phone has a receiver. It can pick it up and it can send stuff back. Like it's sending packets back and forth. And those are information, and it's amazing that it can do this. It's almost like magic, but it has an effect on humans. And now going back to these rat studies, so I'm just going to keep going through here. 1800 megahertz, 900, 2450 for, and these are different studies. These are all different studies, but I'm just going quickly. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for 30 days. 1 hour a day for 35 days. 1 hour exposure times. Main results: norepinephrine and epinephrine. Norepinephrine and epinephrine decrease in the hippocampus. Let's see, what does that say? Decreased levels of the neurotransmitter norepinephrine in the hippocampus are strongly associated with age-related memory decline. 5-HIAA increase in the cerebral cortex at 5 and 10 megawatts per centimeter squared. Let's see this one. An increase in 5-HIAA. I'm not going to really try to say that word. It's quite a long word. That's the chemical. Serotonin's main metabolite in the cerebral cortex generally indicates heightened serotonin activity or turnover in that brain region, often linked to stress responses, depression, sometimes as a compensatory mechanism, or specific neurological conditions. So these signals are literally depressing people. They're causing changes in dopamine, serotonin, other neurotransmitters. Here we had, didn't say exactly the frequency at this one, but it was a change in glutamate and aspartic acid. 2.856 gigahertz in this study. 5-HT increase in the hippocampus from 28 days to 2 months. And this was exposure time 3 times per week for up to 6 weeks. And we're studying 5-HT, which is a precursor to serotonin, I believe. 5-hydroxytryptamine. Like at the store, you can actually buy 5-HTP. If you look in the pharmacy, or the some grocery stores like Safeway and other stores, they will sell 5-HTP. I believe that's the same as 5-HT. Oh, maybe not. 5-HT might just be serotonin. 5-HTP might be the precursor. 5-hydroxytryptamine, 5-HT. Well, anyways, this is related to serotonin. Okay, so and they found an increase, interestingly. So that's pretty interesting. There was an increase. Check that one. An increase in hippocampal 5-HT serotonin is crucial for mood regulation, stress adaptation, and memory formation. So that doesn't sound too bad, actually, if there was an increase. Glutamate. There was a change with glutamate. Primary excitatory neurotransmitter, crucial for learning, memory, and nerve signaling. And it decreased in these rats under this study. This one, 1800 megahertz, a different study. glutamate and glutamine decreased in the hippocampus after 1 month, 1 hour a day for 1, 2, or 4 months. And you got to remember, we're under this EMF all the time. It's happening all the time. Your Wi-Fi is on all the time. You walk into buildings, it's on all the time. It's not just your Wi-Fi. Your neighbor's Wi-Fi comes in through your house. When you look at connect to network for Wi-Fi on your phone or your device, you're getting Wi-Fi signals from everywhere, and you don't have the password for all your neighbors, but the signals are still coming in. If you had the password, you could use them. So it's important. I don't even care if it's like people think it's crazy that I'm wearing like a tinfoil hat or something. It's literally important to protect yourself from this stuff. And I just figured it out like tonight, basically, and I'm still learning, and I'm still going to look into it more. But I legitimately want to get like a Faraday cage for my bed, or figure something out that I can protect myself from EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. And it's honestly important. Like, I noticed that a lot of people just feel like, or seem more like, not as healthy. If you look at people, a lot of them don't seem as healthy. People are more irritable, depressed, and everything. And there's many reasons. I'm not saying it's just this reason, but I am saying that this study, here's the science. This is like something that's really happening. It's true. It's like, it's very important. So, and they're basically making the case here that this stuff it's changing your neurotransmitters. And here it says, these results show that these types of radiation can lead to dysregulation of dopamine levels in the brain and cause abnormal emotional behaviors. So it's like, if people seem off, if people seem weird, if everything just seems like everyone's trying to like learn coping skills and learn emotion regulation. Like, I literally worked in psychology in a government office, and it's like all we were teaching people was like emotion regulation. And it's like, you're always teaching people these like coping skills and whatever, but is that the root problem? Like, are these people just like completely condemned, cursed, or whatever? They're just the more neurotic, the more I don't know, condemned people that they have to be this way. Maybe it's partly, at least, from something like this, like EMF. You know what I'm saying? And it's really tough. Let me tell you, it's really tough when you suffer from emotional issues or something like that, and you don't know why. Seriously. And it's like, you try and figure out a reason why, and sometimes, and it's really hard. It's really hard if you can't figure it out, and it just keeps coming back, and it's like day after day you're getting worn down. So the same thing with norepinephrine and epinephrine. Plays a role in stress response, attention, sleep, and inflammation. Says collectively these, and it lists a bunch of studies. It says collectively these findings underscore the impact of prolonged EMF exposure on norepinephrine and epinephrine levels, suggesting a potential for abnormal regulation with implications for cognitive functions. In a long-term study, exposure to 1.8 gigahertz for 2 hours daily over 70 days resulted in decreased levels of both norepinephrine and epinephrine in the hippocampus regions of the rat brain. So, yeah, this is important, man. That's why it's saying, it's like, don't use Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth headphones. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that, because all these frequencies may not be good for us, and it's showing up more and more under studies that, yeah, they're actually not good for us. Serotonin. Bunch of different changes through serotonin, and that's the one everybody again knows as something that has something to do with mood. And if you're depressed, you definitely know that if you've been put on SSRIs or something. serves as a vital inhibitory neurotransmitter with regulatory roles in various physiological functions, including mood, feeding, cognition, memory, and pain. Some people who have issues with serotonin or are on antidepressants, they're fat. It's like, why are they fat? You actually get serotonin from carbs. A lot of serotonin comes from your gut as well. It's like, and carbohydrates, it's like people get a craving for carbs because they actually get serotonin from them. So it's like if it gets adjusted or messed up in your brain, through EMF, causing a change in your brain's serotonin output, then you might crave carbs. You might end up getting fat because you're just eating chips, you're eating pasta, you're eating all these things that are like a comfort in a way. And it's like you have really bad cravings for them. And you're on all these like drugs, and it's just frustrating if you're on like all those drugs and you're like, I'm getting fat. And they literally will put in the drug, the SSRIs or whatever, they'll put that a side effect is weight gain. So anyways, it gets very complicated. But anyways, glutamate and aspartate and GABA as well. Changes in there, acetylcholine, peptides and other neurotransmitters. I'm gonna read this further probably, but it's very interesting, and I'm trying to learn more. And there's also changes in glial cells. Microwaves too. It's funny because like my mom would talk about how she doesn't like microwaves. She's interested in this stuff too, and she says she's sensitive to these kind of things as well. Some people are, some people say they feel it, or they feel, not good around certain things. And another thing, not to pop off on every single subject, but now it's like there's a new Huberman lab out where they're saying that LED lights are a public health crisis. Well, because they're affecting people's like circadian rhythm, mood, and all these other things. The LED light frequency or radiation affects people as well. We used to have all incandescent. And before that, we used to use candles. And we used to go to bed when it was dark, usually, or we'd be up under the stars. It's like nobody sees the stars anymore. Does anybody see the stars if you live in the city? Nobody sees the stars, you know what I mean? And again, I'm not trying to pop off on like this traditionalism, primalism stuff, but I'm saying there is merit to those things for human mood, human life. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, it also has changes to ion channel expression, function, and structure. I'm not going to go through everything, obviously. I haven't even read the entire study, but I have read enough where I realize that this is important. This is actually a big deal. This is not like a little deal. This is a big deal. It changes permeability to the blood-brain barrier. I actually saw this one in a rat brain that there was more albumin in certain areas within the rat brain in one that was exposed to EMF, where compared to one that wasn't. And this shows that there's it creates a permeability of the blood-brain barrier. Your brain has what they call the blood-brain barrier around it to protect it from certain things getting in and allow other things to get in, nutrients and so forth. But if it becomes permeable, that's not actually a good thing for your brain, because it can get all kind of other things going in there, one of which albumin. And I don't know exactly if albumin is bad or good, but I do know that we don't want to be messing with everything that can go in and out of our brain. It has profound changes and effects on your functioning, your mood, your everything, your learning, your behavior. So I'm just gonna, anxiety, that's an important one. Like, I also saw this thing earlier. It was saying that 91% of worries don't come true. There's another study I saw on X. I was like, wow, that's really important too. So if people suffer from anxiety, I know not everybody probably does, and some people suffer way more than other people, but it's like the worry part of anxiety, that's like really hellish. Like it sucks, you know, living with that all the time, every day, and just wanting it to go down and trying different things, you know, it's really tough. Um, so let's see here. Does it say anything? It says a bunch of different studies. I don't know if I want to read it just now, but um, it says microwave waves, both modulated and non-modulated, affected the behaviors of mice that resemble depression and anxiety. After a month of exposure, they discovered that behaviors like depression and anxiety were brought on by non-modulated continuous sinusoidal I love that word, sinusoidal waves at 2.45 gigahertz with a power density of 0.033 megawatts per centimeter squared. It was determined by Zhang et al. That exposure to 1.8 gigahertz radio frequency, RF electromagnetic frequency, RF EMF, at, I forget what this acronym means, specified something, of 2.7 watts per kilogram for 28 days increased anxiety levels, and that a reduction in GABA and aspartic acid levels may have been responsible for this increase. So anyways, very important. Mood disorders. Like, me personally, I don't like talking about it, but yeah, my mood is I have really a tough time maintaining my mood. You know what I mean? I do all this other stuff, gym, ice bath, limiting exposure to stress, journaling. I do like all of these things. It's like, why am I doing all that stuff? You know, to help with my mood and to help me to have like a good life. It's like, dude, all of these like electromagnetic frequencies have an effect on your mood as well. 1.5 gigahertz in this study on rats. 1.5 gigahertz exposure time of 6 minutes. 1.5 gigahertz microwave caused memory dysfunction in a dose-dependent manner. Next study, 6 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. For 2.856 gigahertz and 9.375 gigahertz, there was a deterioration in the ability of spatial reference and learning and memory. The next one, 4.9 gigahertz, 1 hour a day for 21 days. The anxiety-related behavior and memory capacity of mice were unchanged. Okay, so that's interesting. So it's always important to put in studies where you may not even have a change, because it is a data point. So under 4.9 gigahertz, there was no change. So that is important, at least under this study. These parameters did not significantly affect learning and memory process under these parameters for this study. Again, important to have data points. And under this one, 2400 megahertz, 40 or 60 minutes a day for 60 days, the microwave irradiation resulted in elevation in anxiety-related behavior. So a lot of these are saying that there was no impact, which is quite interesting as well. But a lot of them are saying that it did have impact on anxiety, but not on learning. So kind of a mixed bag for this one, these studies. Here, 900 megahertz, 1 hour a day for 28 days. Mobile phone radiation resulted in anxiety-like behavior. So anyways, it just goes on. I just want to go down to, here we go, the conclusion. The studies discussed in this review determined that exposure to EMFs, depending on the pattern and amount of radiation, has very different effects on the remodeling of the neuronal system and changes in the cognitive processes resulting from these neuronal changes. These alterations include changes in neurogenesis, apoptotic pathways, gene expression, epigenetic mechanisms, neuronal transmission, synaptic plasticity, also functional and structural changes in glial cells, ion channels, blood-brain barrier, and dendritic spine that affect cognitive and behavioral consequences. However, in many cases, ELF-EMF seems to act, I think that's electromagnetic low frequency, seems to act as a neuroprotective and cognitive enhancing agent. While often long-term exposure to high-frequency EMFs causes changes in the nervous system that lead to cognitive impairments. Anyway, more detailed complementary studies with detailed methodologies should be designed to determine the exact mechanisms of EMFs on neuronal change and cognition. So this is really important, and I want to get to this part about, so the main point, high-frequency EMFs and a lot of EMFs in general, electromagnetic frequencies, which come from all these different devices that we have all around us, they are causing changes in our nervous systems, leading to cognitive impairments. Not all of them though, some low frequency ones, and I'm looking this up now, I've been interested in this, they actually are good for you. And I'm looking on Amazon to buy a frequency generator which can generate hertz from 0.1 hertz to 100,000 hertz. Is that 10 gigahertz? I think maybe. And you can adjust it. And I'm gonna buy it because some of these frequencies are actually healing, and they have different effects, I believe. Like I'm not 100% sure, but I'd like to try it out. So it's only $20, and I believe I'll try it out. And then the other thing I was looking at, I'm thinking about getting this, and this goes to the tinfoil hat, and obviously I understand it's like a huge mockery. Okay, I understand that. To be wearing a tinfoil hat, but as I showed you, there are reasons. Like, this stuff is real. This is not just a big joke. Although I understand that you know, it has a huge stigma already around it, but and that it's been joked on forever. But now I'm looking at, again, to buy something. I'm not going to buy this because it's really expensive, but I would like to get something like this, or if I could afford it, I would get something like this. You can get a shielding canopy for your bed. And again, I have to do more research. I have to understand the different types of metals, like what will happen. I want to see if anybody's had any results. I want to look into it. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying it's worthy to look into, and it's actually important. I believe it's important. And so this one's made out of silver fiber, and it says it can block EMF or radiation, Wi-Fi, 5G, and other things. But again, it's too expensive. It's $1,200. So I'm looking into all this stuff. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do right away, but I do know it's important. And the other thing is, so it acts as a Faraday cage. And this is partly why I put on the tinfoil hat, partly just because I want to try it as well. The tinfoil hat is kind of uncomfortable. My head sweats. But I just want to try it to see how I feel. I don't feel like there's like a huge negative other than reputational, to be like a guy on the internet that's wearing a tinfoil hat. You know, look at this loon. Look at this crazy person. I don't really care that much. Like, I more feel like the public health and like my personal health aspect trumps my reputation. I feel like that's more important. Like, it supersedes my reputation, you know what I mean? And the thing is too, that unless people start doing it, like, it's like, first off, people don't even understand stuff. They don't even understand things. They just make associations quickly. And if everybody's clowning on like the tinfoil hat thing, then everybody else will start like clowning on it as well. They won't look into the science themselves. They won't understand it. They'll just like do what everybody else does. It's like, haha, that's funny. Now we get to laugh together. What a retard, and make fun of that other person. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, this is important. I think this is like a public health issue. I think this is affecting a lot of people, and I think that it's worthy and worthwhile to do some kind of work myself to investigate it. You know what I mean? Within reason, obviously, but um, yeah, I believe reason. It really does relate to um, making up your own mind, checking the science, checking the literature, and trying to find out for yourself. Um, yeah, 'cause I don't think everything is going peachy in society among people, and from what I've learned and what I know about um, levels of consciousness, frequency, um, narrative, how everything is essentially vibrating. If you study science, you'll understand that everything is vibrating all the time. Frequencies do have an effect on different things. And there's this video, I'm not going to play it here, but there's this video of they put a metal plate with sand on top of it, and then they play different frequencies. They tune different frequencies to vibrate through the plate, and it creates different shapes. So I believe like the same thing is happening in a certain way within our bodies. It's causing different effects within our bodies. Some of the evidence is here in this review, but it's causing different effects in our bodies. And also I believe, and this might sound a little bit weird, and this is not certain, it's just my kind of thoughts on it. I think it's causing a change societally as well. These different frequencies throughout society. I think it's causing people to, maybe like avoid each other more, or be more curt, or be less relaxed. Maybe pursue things more out in the future because the present just seems very suffocating, or it feels very not good. And people don't want to start talking about their own issues that much because maybe they've had very bad experiences, and they don't want to do stuff like put on the tinfoil hat and read studies and make a YouTube video about it because they don't want to be harangued. They don't want to be made a mockery of. Me, I don't care that much. Like, whatever. It's not a huge deal to me. I feel like the right people, or at least it's maybe not the right people, but it's a correct message. Like, it's a truthful message that I'm saying. Like, I'm saying that I don't know everything. I'm just now put onto it, and I'm doing my research, and as of right now I'm willing to try different things. You know what I mean? And then in this video, it was good. This woman, she was showing with a meter. She was reading her smartphone while it was on and playing a video, and while it was off, and she was showing that there was a lot of EMF coming from the back of the smartphone while it was on and playing a video. And these phones, these things, people hold them to their heads all the time. They put them in their pocket. They're doing all this stuff with their phones all the time, and these phones are emitting EMF radiation. And it's like we don't fully know what all this EMF stuff is all about. We're learning now with these studies, though. And she showed as well that you can reduce it by putting a piece of aluminum foil in your phone case beneath the phone, and then she read it again with her meter, and the EMF being exuded was much less. And then she showed, just kind of like to show that it's a serious thing, an article that France bans the iPhone 12 sales over high radiation emission levels from 2023. So this is actually true. Like, this stuff is actually true. And the tin foil, or the aluminum foil, like I have on my head, I'm just trying it out to see what's going to happen. Am I going to feel differently? Am I going to feel better? Am I going to feel worse? I'm trying it out, you know what I mean? So anyways, that's my big, long, weird video on EMF. I know nobody's going to watch it or no one's really going to care, but it is important. And I do think that people need to hear this stuff, that the message needs to get out. There's obviously a barrier, what you would call like the skeptical barrier or the mockery barrier, but once more people start to understand it and put it into terms that like the general public can understand, and I hope that the government would take it seriously, then we might see public change. I'm not like super optimistic, but I'm willing to spread the message, and I'm willing to try for myself as well. Thanks for watching if you did. Hope you have a nice evening or day.